record on. Okay. Sabine, since you're leaving early, do you want to turn your video on as well? I'll be late. Okay, it's up to you. Let me just start at the bottom of the list this time. Allah, can you turn your video on?
All right, sir. Just give me 2 minutes so I could prepare everything. All right. Sir, do we have to open video? Because no other class asks for video. And I don't feel comfortable opening video alone, you know? It's the whole class.
Well, it helps. I think it helps the discussion very much. It helps to raise questions, and it makes it much more interesting for me if the video, if at least a few people have their video on. I think we put everybody's video on, then it would be a bit chaotic.
No. We'll keep volunteering. I'll turn on my laptop right now so you could get a better vision.
Okay.
1 second.
How about Henry? Henry, do you want to put your video on? To say it's voluntary, but okay. We have a second, and maybe.
Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you doing? Thanks for turning it on. Okay. So since we, as last time, we will cut off, I believe, at 40 minutes, and then I will send you another link, and hopefully we'll be able to get another 25, 30 minutes in after that. So any questions before we get started? Yeah, also in the chat. I'm also, everyone who's in the chat, if you send questions, people, of course, on video can ask questions or comment, but if you have questions and you're not on the video, you can also send through the chat, and I'll keep an eye on that as well. No?
Sir, just one question before that. I'm trying to send you an email every once in a while, and I never get any replies.
What was your email about?
I sent you an email regarding my presentation, and I sent you my sick leave when I went into the hospital, like the last week of June.
Where did you send them? Because I've never received these. I didn't receive these emails.
I'll send you it again, and I'll send you a screenshot of what I sent previously.
Okay, send to my Gmail account. Always send to my Gmail account.
All right, deal.
If we'll see what the issue is, but I guarantee you I haven't seen those emails.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we were about at page 204, right? We had just we were looking at the chapter where Odysseus leaves Phaeacia and he is brought to Ithaca, what we've been waiting on the entire trip, and what Odysseus has been waiting on. So it's a big moment. As we noted, you know, kind of in accordance with the craft and cleverness of a Homer, the great moment that everyone's been waiting for passes without any kind of major event, right? He's asleep. They leave him on the beach. In fact, we get this kind of very unexpected, two-part unexpected resolution, which is that the great Phaeacians are punished by Zeus, although recall that they should be, you would think they would be rewarded by Zeus because they have obeyed Xenia in every good way. They are close to Zeus. They also did what Zeus had planned. I mean, the Greeks had almost a perverse notion of fate, if you can tell from this, because although things are fated, people are blamed for them, even though they are fated to do certain things, and those things are fated to be that way because the gods want them to be that way. Sometimes they're still punished for them, right? So in this case, the Phaeacians, not only did they do what Zeus would have wanted, they obeyed Xenia, but Zeus had sent Odysseus there so that the Phaeacians would send him home, and they sent him home. And nevertheless, when Poseidon arrived and said, it's not fair that Odysseus goes home with all these rewards, Zeus agreed to punish the Phaeacians, right? By turning their ship into a stone off their coast, right, as it sails by. Secondly, we also see, no matter how good the Phaeacians were to Odysseus, he doesn't seem to have any kind of warm feeling towards them, right? They leave him on the beach with all all of his belongings, and when he wakes up, and Athena herself has disguised the island so he doesn't recognize it. He begins to curse them. Wished I had never met these people. Maybe, and then he's suspicious that they have stolen back some of the treasures they gave him. And so he sits down to make sure he counts them all out, right? And his major worry there is they've left me here stranded and there's no way to protect all of these treasures, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Hassan?
Question about when you said Athena was disguising Ithaca so that way Odysseus doesn't recognize it and start cursing out the Phaeacians. Why? What tempted Athena? I'm just wondering why is it that Athena did that in the first place?
You'll notice Athena's an extremely fickle goddess. She does, it's almost like it's mischief. She refers to herself as mischievous. Seems just to cause trouble.
What does that mean, sir?
Happen. Yeah?
What does that mean, sir? What's the definition of the
Mischievous?
Yeah.
She's like a little child who likes to cause trouble. Yeah?
Okay.
In the spirit of kind of fun. We see this is what happens. She makes it so that Odysseus doesn't recognize Phaeacia. Then she disguises herself as a little boy.
Yeah.
Ithaca. And then she tells him it's Ithaca. Just see what his reaction will be, right? Why disguise herself? There's no reason. Right? Just to see what his reaction will be. So that is immediately what happens. She changes herself into a little boy, and she approaches Odysseus on the coast there, and he speaks to her, right? And he asks her where he is, right? What land he has come to, and she tells him that it's Ithaca. It says, so she spoke, and resourceful Odysseus was happy, rejoicing in the land of his fathers, that when Pallas Athena, the daughter of Zeus of the Aggies, told him the truth of it. And so he answered her again and addressed her in winged words. But he did not tell her the truth, but checked that word from the outset, forever using every advantage, using to every advantage the mind that was within him. I heard the name of Ithaca. So now he goes on for one full page telling this a rather elaborate lie to Athena, where he is, where he's come from, why he's there. Sabine says the link isn't working for some people.
Yeah, that's true.
Like 37 messages from the group chat, CVSP, people saying that the link isn't working and they don't know what to do.
Can you direct them to the second? I believe they're probably still using the first. I can't see any reason why the second one that I sent doesn't work. There's a number of people here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How many people are here?
There's many people here. So maybe that's all. Okay. I think everybody, can you check to see if people who are in that group chat are here? Can you see the list of people that are present? Can everyone who's present say hello?
Hello.
No,
Hello.
I mean on the chat.
Hello.
Oh, all right.
Can you see if any of those were on the group chat? I think that should be everyone probably. So I think it's working now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody.
Anyways. So this long lie, let's analyze this a little bit. So someone want to, it's quite long, but do one of you want to volunteer to read this lie that he tells her? Starts at the very bottom of page 204.
Sure, I'll volunteer.
All right.
Okay. I heard the name of Ithaca when I was in wide Crete, far away across the sea. Now I myself have come here with these goods that you see, but leaving as much again to my children. I have fled an exile because I killed the son of Idomeneus, Orsilochus, a man swift of foot, who in wide Crete surpassed all other mortal men for speed of his feet.
Okay, stop there. Okay, first part of his life. I just wanted to note this because you'll notice in this part of the book, yeah, his mic is breaking up slightly, but you can follow him with the text, I think. Read along. He has to tell a number of lies because he's keeping himself, he's going to be turned into an old beggar, and everyone he meets is going to ask him who he is and where he comes from, of course. And he recycles the same lie 3 or 4 times, but he uses all similar names and places, but he changes them around depending on the context in which he's lying. So it's always good to ask yourself, why is the lie of this particular kind, right? Clearly and I'm sure you all know now, people say if you want to tell a good lie, give a lot of details. That no longer works because everybody knows that. So now, I don't know if you know this, but police now, if you give too many details, they become suspicious because that's kind of through, movies and so on, that's become the standard, how to tell a good lie. But Odysseus people aren't quite aware of this yet. So he certainly, the more he feels in danger, the longer his lies are, the more detailed they are. But he also often recycles them in various ways. So we'll see that. Now, so far, just to summarize what Hassan read, first he says he came from Crete. All the lies he'll tell from now on, he starts with he's from Crete, somehow from Crete. He was very wealthy, right? He came with all these treasures that the child sees, so he refers here to the treasures. But he has just as many back at home. He says he fled because he killed the son of a man named Idomeneus, right? Idomeneus will also be recycled in all of these lies. There'll be different people, but here it's not Idomeneus himself, but the son of Idomeneus, this guy named Orsilochus, that he killed, right? He just throws in the detail that Orsilochus was the fastest person in all of Crete, right? We'll see why does he think about as we go on why he throws in that detail. Okay, so let's continue.
Okay. I killed him because he tried to deprive me of all my share of the plunder from Troy. For the sake of it, my heart suffered many pains. The wars of men, hard crossing of the big waters, for I would not do his father favor and serve as his henchman in the land of Troy, but I led others on my own following.
Okay.
I lay in wait.
Stop there. So what does that add? That part of the lie add of importance?
I think he basically in his lie, it's just like, you're not taking my treasure, and I'm not going to work for you. I'm not going to basically work for your dad and be like his lackey. I want to be a leader.
So yeah, 3 things, right? You noticed them there. Well, the third one you didn't notice, but it's kind of assumed. First, why did he kill the guy? Because he took my plunder. This is my plunder here. Don't take it. I'll kill you. Right. Second, I'm not just anybody. Along the way, he name drops Troy. He fought at Troy. He was a great warrior at Troy. Not only was he a warrior at Troy, but he was not, some unknown warrior. He was a leader at Troy. Right? And he was someone who wouldn't allow himself to be dishonored. And he killed someone for taking his plunder. So that's what this next part of the lie adds. Go on.
Okay. I lay in wait for him, the friend by the road, and struck him with a bronze-headed spear as he came back from the field. There was a very dark night spread all over the sky, and nor did anyone see me, nor did anyone know of it when I stripped the life from him. But then, when I had cut him down with the sharp bronze, I went at once to his ship and supplicated the lordly
Phoenician.
Phoenician
Yeah.
men
You can
and
stop
made
there.
his
Of course, you know
spoil.
the Phoenicians are supposed to be from Lebanon, right?
Mm.
As below, you say they left him inside them, right? So, okay, this is I mean, what is this part of the lie?
Uh, he's basically recounting how he killed this dude, and he goes into detail saying it was nighttime. He used a bronze spear, sharp bronze spear, and then saying afterwards he went into a Phoenician ship.
Yeah. So this is kind of the you know the not so subtle, scary part of the story, right? He's trying to terrify this child. Telling him not only did he get revenge, but he goes into great detail. In the middle of the night, I cut him down with the bronze, right? He didn't see me coming. You won't see me coming if you take my stuff. I'm going to get my revenge, and you will not know it. I will get away, right? This now reveals to us why he, of course, threw in the detail that Orsilochus was the fastest afoot, right? I killed and caught up, no matter, even though he was faster than everyone else, I was still able to catch him and cut him down. So don't think you can run away from me either, right? So everything that in this lie, you can put it in much more direct terms, and it shows how it serves its purpose, right? So I'll continue there. So he goes to these Phoenician men. They were supposed to carry him to Pylos, but they didn't because they were driven off by the winds, right? He fell asleep, right? And they taking all his possessions out of the hollowed hull, set them on the sand close to where I was lying, and they, embarking, went on their way to strong settled Sidon. But I, grieving at heart, was left behind. So then he just tacks on the end that happened with the Phaeacians, right? They carried him onto the land. That explains why he doesn't know where it is. He was carried on, sleeping, and just left him there. Athena's so pleased with this, right? She was carrying out her own mischief, and he kind of outdid her, she thinks, in this lie, right? So she's so pleased. She says she smiled on him and stroked him with her hand and took on the shape of a woman, both beautiful and tall and well versed in glorious handiworks. And she spoke aloud to him and addressed him in winged words, saying, "It would be a sharp one and a stealthy one who would ever get past you in any contriving. But even if it were a god against you, you wretch, so devious, never weary of tricks, then you would not even in your own country give over your ways of deceiving and your thievish tales. They are near to you in your very nature," right? That's one of the reasons she loves him, because he is so mischievous, just like she is. She also goes on to tell him, to praise him for not being like other men. Other men would land in their homeland and find out, and they would run off to their wives and children, but not Odysseus, right? He continues his cautiousness and his cunning ways. Page 206 then, and this kind of sets up what the rest of the book is really all about. I mean, up until we get to the slaughter of the suitors, right? So far we've seen Odysseus go through many challenges, but now he has his major challenge is a challenge that we've not seen him actually succeed in the past. What is his major challenge? You can put it in the, people can type in the chat as well. I seem to have lost Majd. Someone else want to do, a couple other people want to turn on their cameras? So it's, as much as I like Hassan, it would be good to have a couple other people. To get back to Ithaca, he's already in Ithaca, Hassan. That was his previous challenge. Sabine, killing the suitors, true, but there's that is the challenge, but there's a kind of more primary challenge. in order to kill the suitors, he has to do something. That's what Athena explains to him on page 206. There's one challenge he and his son will share until they kill, not to show his identity, right? You can put that in other terms, maybe slightly more. Ahmad, that's a good answer. Yes, there's also the axe heads and so on. Yeah, but the main challenge is concealing his identity. But why is concealing his identity so difficult? Well, there are obvious reasons. He's going to be in front of his son and his wife. Particularly in front of his wife, he can't reveal his identity because she's surrounded by people who are contrary to Odysseus, right? The suitors and various slaves and others who are not loyal. But even more importantly, so put it this way, in a lot of cases, like I think in this case, it's no challenge for Odysseus not to reveal who he was to Athena disguised as a young boy. He loved to do it, I think. Gave him a chance to tell a great lie. But we saw him previously with the Phaeacians have to keep his identity quiet. And he did a very bad job, particularly when his honor was called into question. Right? That's the one thing he will keep his who he is disguised until it becomes something that would be dishonorable, right? He's mistaken for someone less honorable. That causes him a lot of internal turmoil, I think. And we saw he gave himself away, right? When they called him not, the men of Phaeacia said he was not warlike, he was not good at games, but he was more like an accountant working on his ship. He immediately let drop that he was there fighting in front of Troy, that he was second to Philoctetes at the bow, all the things that would reveal who he was. So we've seen he's not been able to meet such a challenge before. Hassan wants to say something?
Yeah, I basically wanted to add a other point about him not being able to conceal his identity with the Phaeacians.
Yeah.
When the bard comes in and sings a song about Odysseus and Achilles, Odysseus, still in disguise, like breaks down in tears, and the king of the Phaeacians is the one to notice it. And by the end of that chapter, he just goes, "Who are you really?" So I feel like him crying over the bard's song about Achilles and Troy kind of also gave it away.
The first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, because it did say only the king noticed. It kind of prepared things. Maybe you could say, yeah, that as well. I didn't think of that as too significant, but I think possibly. The thing I would say against that, so if everyone heard Hassan made a very interesting point. He said, not only did he reveal his identity to the Phaeacians when his honor was challenged, but he also did it the first time the poet sang about Troy. He didn't actually reveal who he was, but he did cry a little bit that made the king suspicious of who he might be, which then perhaps planted the seed for his planned idea of bribing the poet later with meat to sing of Troy again so he could, start squealing out loud and they would ask him who he was. The counter, if someone wanted to give counter evidence to that, I would say every person he meets, I mean, maybe that does make the challenge bigger, but he never reveals himself to the people he loves most. Even when it's like he almost delays in every case. He waits longer than is necessary. And this is particularly clear in a part of the book that we don't read. But let all the stuff pass. So he kills the suitors. And then after he kills the suitors, everyone knows who the suitors actually are, who they are. They're not just the suitors who are trying to marry his wife, but they are because they are They are up to be king of Phaeacia. They are all the best young men from all the surrounding islands and from Ithaca itself. So they're not just nobodies. They're not, random men. They are the best young men from all the best families. So once you kill all of them, you're in trouble, right? Because now everyone wants revenge. And this is, the Greeks were like the Italians, like the Italian mafia or something. You kill one,
Right.
better kill all of them. So after he kills the suitors, the plan is that there's now going to be civil war in Ithaca. And so he needs to recruit other people to help him fight. And he goes to recruit his father, Laertes, who, as we know, is living outside of the town, not taking care of himself. When he meets his father, Laertes, there's no danger any longer, obviously. Everyone knows who Odysseus is, knows he's back. And yet when he meets his own father, he lies to him, tells him one of these stories about being a man from Crete. And then his father breaks down in tears when he hears that Odysseus is coming back. And then Odysseus breaks his cover, finally, right? So there's maybe a little evidence in your favor, Hassan, that he does there break his lie because of his seeing his father so sad. But then you have to ask yourself, why does he lie to his father in the first place? There's absolutely no reason, except that what Athena told us. It's deep within his nature to do so. So I've got the notice here of 10 minutes. So we'll just keep going until this kicks us all out, and we'll try again with the. I'll send immediately after you get kicked out. I'll send another invitation, and hopefully it'll
Another
work.
link.
Last time. Huh? Okay.
Another link, but it's all right.
Yes, another link. So this is essentially what Athena tells him. So the point, going back to our original point, up until the challenge of killing the suitors, his real challenge is, as she says, you must endure much grief in silence. And by grief, she means standing and facing men in their violence and not responding. So when he goes back to his home, unfortunately, we skip a lot of this in the reading. He goes as a beggar. So all it's only the good graces of Telemachus, who knows who he is, and Penelope that he's even allowed in the household. And once he's in the household, the suitors abuse him constantly. They beat him with chairs, they make fun of him. This is something you could never, reading up to this point, you would never imagine Odysseus would be able to suffer. But he does. And it's not only his job to suffer it, but it's his son's job to suffer it. So she's telling him here what his challenge is. And actually when Odysseus meets and speaks with Telemachus and tells him who he is, he passes on that message. The son also has to suffer seeing his great father be abused until the right moment, right? All for the sake of the proper vengeance, right? I guess that pays it off, because he gets this moment where he gets to reveal all along, look at who you were abusing, and now I'm getting my revenge on you, right? It also works kind of dramatically in that it gives us a chance to really hate the suitors and see how despicable they are by watching them repeatedly mistreat him. After this, so Odysseus, although he obviously has some closeness to Athena, they're not particularly close in other ways, right? So he accuses her. He asks her why he's had so much trouble. And she says, I've been helped. She actually takes credit for pretty much everything. After she tells him, you must suffer in violence, he tells her, or she tells him that, she is the reason that he returned. She made the Phaeacians like him. She helped him at Troy. She has helped him all along, right? And he asks, why have I never seen you? Why have you never been there? Which she simply rejects. Finally, so after they have this discussion, Odysseus and Athena hide his treasures in a cave, right? Of course, they have to take care of the goods that are very important. And then they sit down under an olive tree together. An olive tree, of course, is a sign of what?
Peace.
The symbol
It's
of.
an olive branch.
Sometimes an olive branch is used, I believe, for like peace, yes, and like. But olive trees are also supposedly associated with wisdom or cleverness, right? So they sit down under an olive tree, the two, and they plan. Where she reveals, she reveals a great deal. She even tells him earlier that she knew it was fated for him to return with all of his men dead. This was always intended, and there was never any other option for it to happen. But then she tells him what the plan is for their revenge and that she will help him, right? So this is on page 208. Just before what I'm going to read, she tells him about the suitors, that they're in his house, that they're trying to win his wife. And then this is I don't understand why he says this. It's almost like he talks about how Athena knows everything, but he already knows about the suitors, right? He's heard in the underworld, he's been warned. But nevertheless, when she tells him this, that the suitors are waiting on him, he says, "Then resourceful Odysseus spoke in turn and answered her, 'Surely I was on the point of perishing by an evil fate in my palace, like Atreus' son Agamemnon.'" So again, he compares himself to Agamemnon. "Unless you had told me, goddess, the very truth of all that has happened. Come then, weave the design, the way I shall take my vengeance upon them. Stand beside me, inspire me with strength and courage, as when together we brought down Troy's shining coronal." What is a coronal? You should all know now. It's the same word that corona comes from. What does that mean?
I don't think it's like castle. No, it's not castle.
It means what do you call it? A crown.
Oh.
Because the virus has something that's on it that looks like a crown in its structure, which is why the beer is called Corona. It's also a crown.
Oh.
Anyways, so when we took down the crown of Troy, for in your fury, O God, gray-eyed goddess, you stood beside me. I would fight, lady and goddess, with your help against 300 men if you, freely and in a full heart, would help me. Then in turn, gray-eyed goddess Athena answered, "I will indeed be at your side. You will not be forgotten at the time when we two go to this work. And I look for endless ground splattered by the blood and brains of the suitors, these men who are eating all your substance away." Right? So a number of things in that. He reveals the point of the whole thing is vengeance. Right? This is, again, returning to that question we asked at the beginning of the text. Is this a book about homecoming or is it a book about vengeance?
Vengeance.
It seems to be about vengeance, right? He's not planning out the party he's going to have here after he's returned home and what he's going to do. He's planning his vengeance, right? Using those very words. And it's not like I'm going to save my wife. I'm going to relieve my son of oppression. No, I'm going to get my revenge. And whenever the death of the suitors is mentioned, it's noticeable, right? She says, "I look for the ground to be splattered by the blood and brains of the suitors, these men who are eating all your substance away." Right? So the reason I want it to be so violent is mentioned in the line, right? Why otherwise mention those two things continuously together? Shows that they're connected. One is for the other. It's the violation of Xenia that is behind it all. So she also tells a little bit more about Penelope, what's going on, and Telemachus. She tells him that Telemachus has been sent away, and that he's no longer at home right now, and that she will soon go and retrieve him. You remember he's on this trip around the Peloponnese to meet all of the warriors to ask them of information about the homecoming of Odysseus. Odysseus then asks her, so have you sent him off so that he would suffer like me, right? Hardships out on the sea. And she assures him, no, he's safe. But the suitors are planning his death. But I believe that will not happen, she says. She's going to prevent it. And then he will return home completely safe, right? At this point, she turns Odysseus into an old man. We get a nice description of how she makes his skin look ancient, and she gives him a pack full of holes and an old cloak befouled with smoke, and makes him, dulls his shining eyes and all of